Welcome to Big Business with Sarah, the show for experienced entrepreneurs who want to grow their impact and income through value-based outputs. Are you a freelancer or a small business owner with 10 to 20 years of work experience? And is it finally time for you to reap the fruits of your labor and to recreate the business you will love? My name is Sarah Berkenkamp, and I'm helping you every Thursday to take your dream business closer to reality. Do not forget to subscribe to my show and catch every episode. Welcome to episode 12 of Big Business with Sarah. I'm so glad you are here. And today's episode is all about your big business and your big life. Why did I want to talk about this? I was thinking lately, actually, you cannot have a big business without having or accepting that you will have a big life. And so I created this framework to have you live your life on your terms. I was thinking about this. I was using my whiteboard, which is in my home office, and I was writing down all these things. And in the end, I created 3 big life pillars for you. And we're going to talk about this today. And today is just a sneak peek on the Big Business, Big Life live stream series that I'm hosting in a couple of weeks. You can already subscribe to the waitlist, and it's going to be really, really great. It's going to be 3 late afternoon evenings, and we're going to talk about all those pillars. We're going to talk about way more than that. So I just wanted to give you a little insight of what we're going to talk about. Most of the time, my business courses are, of course, very serious, always with a fun element, but this is just going to be really fun. And this is also very, very interesting if you're not owning a business, but if you're very focused on your career. Maybe you will start a business at some point, but you are very focused on bringing out a lot of impact in your work. So let's get started. The big life pillars. The first one is called fearless or no fear. That's the first pillar. What do I mean with that? Live your life without fear. It means that when you are not afraid of failing. And you're probably thinking, what do you mean? I never fail, maybe. But the thing is, what is holding us back most of the time when we want to grow our business, but also our life, is that we're afraid to make a mistake. Maybe you're afraid to invest. Maybe you are afraid to start your business. And fear is holding us back of that. So fear of failure in our society, it's not very, and actually specifically also in the Dutch society, I think it's a European thing. In the US, it's way more okay to fail a couple of times before you're successful. But in Europe, it's a little bit less okay. And I think we should go more towards the US approach, because failing is learning. That's how you should call it. And I also saw someone mention that failing is falling and you can get back up. Another part of the no fear and fearless pillar is radical responsibility. I remember the first time hearing about this, and I thought, I don't want to be responsible for everything. It seems like a lot of work. It's going to cost me a lot of energy if I think that I'm responsible for everything that's happening in my life. By the way, I do want to mention that, of course, there are events in your life that are not making a big life possible. Sometimes there's something happening in your life that is really overwhelming, and could be all sorts of terrible things. There's a lot of things happening in the world right now, so I just wanted to make this side note for you, as well as that you don't have the impression that I live in a dream world or whatever. But I think, to those people that really can't do anything about this situation, yes, of course, it's not your fault. But I think for many people in the world, and maybe also to those that are listening right now, you are responsible for the way you're living your life. And this might sound a little strict and maybe you really don't want to hear this, but you are taking that radical responsibility, not blaming others for your situation. So for instance, let me think of a good example. Well, I blamed my mother quite often, and I still do actually, for many, many parts of my life. The way I'm thinking in life, the way I'm positioning myself in life, of course, that stems from my childhood. But really, if I take that radical responsibility and really pull it towards myself, if I'm realizing that, you know what? No, I am responsible for how to respond to this. It's a much easier approach and it's a much lighter feeling. So I would really definitely suggest you work on this and think of, before you're blaming someone else, think of, really, is this really their fault? Or could I maybe change some things in my own approach and then make it better? And then the third part of the no fear pillar is be proactive. I learned this from a wonderful writer. He's called Stephen Covey, and he has written many, many books. And this book, Being Proactive, is coming from the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. I recommend this book to all of my coachees, actually. And being proactive means that you are actually, you start something. If there's something not working out for you, you are trying to find a solution. So for instance, yesterday I saw on Twitter someone who said, I gave a lovely speech on my high school, and it was really nice talking about my work and everything. That's what she said. And I remember thinking, you know what? I was waiting for the invitation from my high school to come to them to talk about my career. But actually, I could just come to them and say, you know what? I would love to talk to your students and, just have a chat on career, what they think about it, and try to inspire them. I can do that. I can be proactive. I don't have to wait. And most of the time, people really don't remember you, especially not from your high school. So, it's really up to you. Being proactive. Also, for instance, contacting a client that you might want to work with. Contact them proactively. It's fine. You're good. You're safe. Then the second pillar is your definition of success. So we're talking about fearless, and now the second pillar is the definition of your success. And why did I put this in here is because I believe success is ever changing. I remember living, I was a student, I was sharing a home with 2 girls, and I was just having a very small room. And I remember with my then boyfriend, now husband, looking at the rear window, and we saw a beautiful house with beautiful furniture, beautiful lamps, and also a design cat. And I remember we were talking about wanting to have that life, to create that beautiful home for us and have that beautiful house. And it's so interesting. Okay, it was 11 and a half years ago. It's quite a while ago. But our idea then, that was our definition of success back then. And now, and it doesn't, of course it doesn't really matter, but our house right now is much bigger and actually, I think, much better than what we then wanted. So your definition of success is ever changing. And I want to ask you to look back at maybe what you thought that 5 years ago was a great Saturday night, or a great weekend, or a great week, or maybe a work week. Accepting that it's ever changing will help you take forward action. So for instance, if you have your definition of success right now, write it down. What to you is a successful life? Write it down and try to find little actions that you can take to get towards that definition of success much faster. It's a little bit of an exercise. I think it's going to help you understand that definition of success, and also understand that it's different for you. It's different for everyone, really. And the third pillar of the big life pillars is called be flexible, be adaptable. And I wrote down for myself, life is dirty. And why did I write this down? So you all know that I was an interim manager for about 12 years, on and off for years, and working for different organizations all the time. And last year I decided I wanted to become a business coach. And actually, as an interim manager, I was already kind of a CEO coach. I just didn't call it like that, and a team coach. I love to lead in a coaching way. And so I created this. I made a lot of money last year. let's just put it that way. And I had some savings. And currently I'm thinking, you know what? It's also fine if I take on some freelance jobs if my savings dry up. Starting a new business, working with new clients, as I am doing, I am pivoting my business, is difficult. It's difficult finding those new clients, and I won't have that lifestyle, that I had, for instance, last year. I am now working much harder on reaching my goals, which is fine because I want to change and I know that it's going to be better in half year time. But now is the time for me to invest my time and save up my money. But I also have to realize that it's also fine if I take on a freelance job for instance, 8 hours a week. It makes, it gives me money and I can just live more freely. And what I want to say with this story is that life is dirty. Your business can be a little bit dirty. You don't have to do it perfect. You can just jump in something really, really quickly. I know that in the advertising world, some people call it quick and dirty. And I think this could also really say something about how you live your life. And also, and now I'm coming to my point, accepting that things can be different all the time. Accepting that situations change. As I mentioned, I was an interim manager. So of course, every time that I came into an organization, and especially when I had to lead a team, people were a little bit afraid of me because they knew, with an interim manager, they might even get fired. That actually never happened, but that could happen. So people are, of course, afraid. Interim manager, it sounds a little bit, and people don't like change. And I also do not believe as an interim manager that I should step in the first day and say, let's change everything. People, what you've done for the past 10 years has been really bad. No, of course, I'm not going to say that. But change is scary. So now we're going back to the fear pillar again. Change is scary because you don't know what's next. I am also a little bit scared with my business pivot, from interim manager to business coach. Is this going to work out for me? Yes, I am. I am going to accept that I am already living my life as if it is already perfect. I want to help 100 clients a year. I know I'm going to make that goal because I have a plan, and I'm looking every day at my plan, and I know, what, right now I don't have the evidence, but I know it will come for me because I wrote everything down. I have a whole marketing strategy. Everything will work out for me. So I'm taking that radical responsibility. But accepting that life is dirty, that you have to be flexible, realizing, does this break you? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And also, what's the worst that can happen? And if you're looking at things in your life like that, I think you could really create that big life. Because really also having, and that's a little bit my conclusion right here. Well, not a little bit. It is completely I don't know why I'm saying that. My conclusion right here is that it's super subjective whether you have a big life or not. So during our live stream series, I'm not going to tell you what your big life should be. No, you decide. For me, for instance, a big life is having fun with my friends, having beautiful stuff in my house, enjoying the time with my friends and family and cats here at home, going out to dinner, maybe sometimes buying some lovely designer clothing or accessories, I don't know. That for me is a big life. You're probably thinking, that doesn't mean anything to me. Maybe your big life is work 2 hours a day. I don't know, or a week. It's up to you. And we are going to find this out. Before I am going to talk about that, I want to share with you that there is a big life guide waiting for you. You can download it for free. You can find the link in the description of this podcast episode. You can find everything on bureausbb.com/podcast. And you can subscribe to the Big Business, Big Life live stream series. I just told you a lot about it, but I really would love you to join. It's really, really, it's one of the cheapest ways to work with me. And yes, I would love for you to join and really pick my brain. And I want to hear about your big life and what you're going to do to take those next steps. So with these 3 pillars, no fear, your definition of success, and being flexible and adaptable, you can already start create your big life today using my guide and also subscribing to the live stream series. And I want to close this episode with a quote from Ariana Grande. She says, "Learn from your mistakes, take responsibility, and forgive yourself." And with that lovely quote, I would like to end this episode. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, please share, and see you next week.